gangster teacher. No, just cold teacher. Just very cold teacher. So this evening, we're going to be working on hand gestures in public speaking. So let me start my screen share. Oh, goodness. No more turtle burgers. Okay, Victoria. It's quite cold this evening. Yes, that's why I've got I've actually got 2 jumpers on. It's that cold for me. Okay. All right. So this evening we are going to be working on, where's the magic button? There we go. So this evening our topic is hand gestures in public speaking, the art of expressive hand gestures. So I did intend to put some photos and some pictures in this slideshow, but I found a great website that has mostly 2 to 3 second videos of these hand gestures, and I've decided to use those. I look like Darth Vader from Star Wars. Oh, congratulations, Stella. You just joined Ivy Global School. Well done. So let's get started. Yes, Tom.
Not yet. I haven't heard anything. I just because my sister said and I should put the hand gesture on because it's looking kind of cool, but I don't really have any question now because you haven't teached anything. So there.
I've been saying plenty so far. You should know me by now, Tom. I love to talk. Stella.
I just want to say that so today we just okay, so it's hand gestures like body language.
Pardon?
I said is hand gestures have the meaning like body language.
Yes, very good. So hand gestures, they are an extension of body language. So there's obviously 2 interpretations of hand gestures. You can have sign language as a way of actually like communicating words and sentences to people that can't hear you speak. But that's not the type of hand gestures we're talking about. This evening, they are movements of the hand that, so yeah, the hand gestures we'll be talking about tonight are movements of the hand that aim to complement the content of your speech. Well, that's not good, Mina. Okay, let's get started, guys. So welcome. Welcome to a dynamic exploration of hand gestures in public speaking. Before we do that, let's just have a quick 2-minute recap of our last lesson. Oh, now I'm just thinking about the fun we had last week with all of the facial expressions. So we discussed, we discussed in depth the 7 universal facial expressions. So things like happiness, disgust, anger, surprise, fear. I can't remember the other 2 off the top of my head right now, but we discussed a lot of those topics. Yes, Diana.
And is hand gesture really important in public speaking?
It's not the most important thing, but it can add another layer to your public speaking. So if I stand, just to give you a quick example. So if I stand here, I need to be able to make sure you can see the hand. So if I just stand here and I'm just giving a speech and the hands are just hanging down by my side here and addressing the audience. It doesn't look very good. But if I start talking and I'm using these hand gestures to explain things, if I'm counting or if I'm showing you the size of something, is it big, is it little? It just adds that extra layer of, one, it adds an extra layer of communication, and two, it makes it seem like you're more excited about what you're saying. So would you rather watch somebody that's just kind of sitting there and not doing anything, or would you prefer to watch someone that's a bit more expressive?
Yeah, teacher, but when I am speaking, like I am speaking in the video, do I need to like while I am holding the camera and do the hand gesture?
So there
It
are
is
so there are multiple ways that you can look at it. So I saw a message as well that said, what happens if I have to hold my speech? You can hold your speech, say my phone is my speech. I can hold that in one hand, and I'm still able to use the other hand to do some gestures, or I might be
Yeah.
able to work it out where I can have my speech displayed in front of me. So like when you see a lot of speakers using lecterns or podiums, they have the speech on the podium in front of them, and you'll usually see them start by leaning their hands on the sides of the podium, and then they might point at someone to address them or use their hand gestures from there. So there are ways around. Also, there are ways to make sure that your hands are free to be able to use them.
Yeah,
Yes.
yes, thank you.
Sorry, Diana, go on. Oh, very good. Thank you, Diana. All right. Goodness gracious, Miss Turtleburger, what can I do for you?
Okay, so my question is, does hand gestures are the action of the hands that what it could what's the importance of that to public speaking? I mean that.
So the importance of hand gestures is the importance of hand gestures is mostly that it just adds another layer to your presentation. So going back to my earlier example of standing there just with my hands hanging down by my sides, I looked very boring when I was talking, but as soon as I started lifting them up and showing you some of the ways that you can use your hands when you talk, it makes you a more interactive speaker, because a lot of your communication, I can't remember the exact statistic, but I think it's less than 20% of your message is actually delivered by the words you say. The rest of it's all by your posture, your facial expressions, your hand gestures. So yeah, hand gestures is just another way for you to convey information to the people that you're speaking for. I imagine you would get a decent chance to try out using hand gestures and rely on facial expressions a lot in debate as well. So perhaps that's something that you could take forward into your debating if you're not already doing it. Oh, goodness. Okay. I'll take a few questions in a little bit. I want to start covering this information. So the objectives of today's lesson, we want to understand the different types of hand gestures. We want to be able to identify hand gestures that complement our speech. So in other words, if I'm talking about, so if I'm listing things off, maybe something I could do with that would be listing them off on my fingers. So, you know, for option number 1, option number 2, option number 3, that can be a good visual cue rather than maybe showing you how big something is, you know, like number 1, number 2, number 3. It doesn't, there's a bit of a disconnect there. So we want to make sure that we pick hand gestures that can that complement what we're saying, and it only adds to the speech. Okay. Diana, yes, you can have another question because you've asked me like 5 times. I can't say no.
Yes. So, do you usually like, is it inconstant? It's like, do you usually have some difficulty while you are speaking and and do hand gestures?
Say that again, sorry, Diana.
I mean that, do you usually have any difficulty while you are speaking and do get hand gestures?
So, like every skill that you develop, it'll be difficult at first, but eventually the more confident you get with using hand gestures, the more natural they will become, which actually ties in pretty good to the third objective of our lesson tonight, which is practicing incorporating hand gestures naturally. So what that means is, like I was saying before, when you first learn to use them, it might feel a little bit awkward. You might feel a bit funny. You might think, oh, I look stupid doing this. But the more you practice it, the better you will get with it. So eventually you'll just start using hand gestures without even thinking about it.
And I think that this skill, I don't need to learn much. It is like naturally I can do that with my speaking while I am speaking. And there isn't anyone that taught me how to do hand gestures. And
No.
yeah, I don't really know why I can do it.
Maybe you have a very expressive parent or a friend or a teacher that uses a lot of hand gestures, and sometimes you can actually pick those skills up without realizing it. But what I found in my personal experience, not necessarily in regards to public speaking, but there are certain skills that I didn't realize that I'd pick them up until I went to do it. And then I go, oh, I can do this. So maybe I decide to learn to do it better. And then I realized just how much I don't know. So yeah, definitely. Sorry, I was just getting sent a few funny memes I wanted to save. But yeah, so it's definitely worth investing the time to practice this stuff, rather than just thinking that you know it and that you can do it. But as always, this is just going to be a very surface level entry into the topic. If you want to learn more about it, then it's definitely worth it to do some personal research. Thank you very much, Diana.
Yeah, thank you for explaining.
You're very welcome. And Stella, last one before we move on. I actually want to get this lesson started before it's due to finish.
So I just wanted to ask that if you like to have some, like, if you are doing in the middle of your body language or something, and then it's like then you hear something that make you shock, and then that froze you, like, and then like there is a bang or something like really loud, and then you stop, and then the audience started to frown. What would?
Well, you actually raise a good point with that question, Stella. So the way that I was, so just a little bit of an off-track thing here. Luna, wake up. Wake up, Luna. So the way that I was always taught about the body, because I've been a dance teacher for about 20 years. The way that I was always taught to use my body was that everything starts from the middle of the body, so around your chest area, and then it moves outwards. So if you take fear is probably the best example that I've got. because, well, for one, that's the one Stella mentioned, if you get a bit of a shock. Like when you see someone get a bit of a shock, the first thing you tend to see is that jump that starts from the middle of the body. Then it tends to go up to the face where they get that. And then finally it tends to go into the rest of the body where you get that big jump. How many times have you seen someone get scared and they're just like, ooh, but nothing happens in the arms? It tends to be like a whole body, like ooh, kind of a jump. So, so, and you can even bring that back to public speaking. You can even bring that back to public speaking in the sense of, like, if my posture's not good, so starting with my back, my spine, my center of my body, if I'm nice and tall, standing well, that makes it easier for me to look out at my audience, which makes it easier for me to use my facial expressions to engage them. It also makes it easier for me to use my hands and use gestures. But if my posture's bad, starting from my body, if I'm slumped down here, my eyes are looking down here, and I'm not going to use facial expressions just to look at a platform. You know, I'm not going to hand gestures up here. It just looks silly. I look like a monkey with my arms up there. It doesn't look right. So everything kind of complements everything else when it comes to the body aspect of public speaking. So like your posture, your facial expressions, your hand gestures. Yeah, it all tends to complement each other. Anyway. Oh, goodness. Okay, so let's get into it. The first thing that we want to discuss are the 3 different types of gestures. So the first type of gestures is an illustrative gesture. And that's where we use our hand gestures to visually represent an object or an action. So how many times have you talked with a friend who's just gotten a bit excited about what they were talking about? Maybe they were telling you, oh, and then I ran over here and I was really excited and I was really happy. And they're using their hand gestures to demonstrate actions like running, or, you know, like I was holding the baby, things like that, that describe, objects and things that you do. So that's the first type of hand gesture. The second type of hand gesture is descriptive hand gestures. So that explores things like shapes or sizes or quantities. So that can be things like, oh, like I went to the shop. I'm just using an example here, but I went to the shop to buy a loaf of bread, but they're on special, so I bought 2 of them. Or the loaf of bread was this big and it was so cheap. So it's it's describing the size of things. It's describing the quantities or how many. Or there's a little box where you can show people make the shape, like make a square, or it's a box. That's a terrible box. I know, you don't need to tell me how bad my box is. But that's descriptive gestures. And the third and final one is emphatic gestures, which means we use them for emphasis or to convey strong emotion. So if you're getting angry during a speech or while you're talking to someone, you know, your hand gestures might get firm or pointing, like you can let people know the emotions you're feeling through your hand gestures as well. Or if you're really excited about something and it's, can't wait, and just slam your fist down on the desk. I can't wait to do it. You can use hand gestures for that as well. Very good, Diana. That is a very good hand gesture. That was sent. Okay. So we're going to do some examples now. So like I mentioned before, I found this really good website that's full of lots of pictures and short 2 or 3 second videos of demonstrating certain hand gestures. And once we watch a few of them, we're going to start talking about how these gestures can enhance our understanding of the meaning behind them. Oh my goodness. You guys are really bringing the memes tonight. I love it. Okay. So, I had it open before. It's micro expressions. That's from last week, but we had hand gestures. There it is. So, so this first section is called 20 hand gestures you should be using and their meaning. So we're just going to go through a few of them and we'll talk about what they mean, how we can use them in our public speaking, and just to give you an idea about them. But honestly, if you guys copy down this website here, this entire page is called 60 hand gestures you should be using in their meanings. So there's a lot of different hand gestures that we can use. So I definitely recommend checking them out because they can really add, again, another layer of communication and enthusiasm to your public speaking. So this first one is listing. And so this is apparently the most easy one. We've already talked about it, in fact. This is where you use your fingers to count during a speech if you're listing things off. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She even went up to 5. So that's a good one. So by doing this, it can add because you're adding that visual representation of it as well. It's just another way to give that information to your listeners. So it can add just another way to help them remember things. And as well, so you can also see here, they've got some good little descriptions here. And it can also add some movement and warmth to your body language, and it can serve as an anchor. So when we talk about anchors, by the way, you might hear this a fair bit in public speaking. An anchor is something that, so if you imagine an anchor that you drop out of a boat, it stops the boat from moving. In a conversation, an anchor point is simply a way to, or a part of the conversation that you can draw back to easy because it's so easy to remember. The next one we have is a tiny bit. So if you want to emphasize something small, so keep your fingers very close together because it's very little. So yeah, that's a good one to use too. We've got this one here, listen up. That one sounds serious. So we see here from the description here, it's a very strong gesture, so use it with caution. It's not something that you'd want to just be standing there like, hey, listen up, because it's a bit too strong and people, oof, what are they talking about? So this and another bonus of that one is that when you do use it, the sound that you generate. So let me try and find the microphone on my computer here, but you hear that slap. If you do that into a microphone with that hand gesture, just listen up. People are going to hear that sound and they're going to look in the direction that the sound came from. Okay, another one that we can use there is a clenched hand. So We can use this one to show intensity, and we can actually use that in a couple of ways. So first of all, something to look out for is be careful to use it if you've got an irritated voice. Because if you sound irritated and you're shaking your hand, I look like I'm crazy, or I look like I'm angry at someone. But another way that I can use it is I can also go like, yes, if I'm excited about something, or I can go, yes, and throw that fist in the air. But it's all the same hand gesture. It's all that clenched fist. And I used it to show excitement or happiness that I won something, and I used it to show anger. So there are lots of different ways you can use that one. I'll take a couple of questions. Tom?
Yes. Okay. And because I have a question, because the clenched hand fist in my class, they're like in 1 year there are like a million fight between just two students, and it's just even the teacher's best effort that they can't stop it. And every time the two see they just go and then it went out and all fight wall, and then the teacher step in, give them some punishments, and the next day they keep fighting again.
Very good. So yeah, you just explained how you see it being used as a sign of frustration or anger. If you do a double fist, that generally means that you want to fight somebody. So probably not a good one to do that one. Tim. Hello, Tim. What's your question? I can't hear you. Try disconnecting from the audio and reconnecting. I'll come back to you. Diana.
I have no question.
You just kept your
That's a
hand up.
lower hand.
Okay. I'll do that one for you. Stella, do you have a question?
I'm just keeping my place company, okay?
Victoria, do you have a question?
Is it me or other?
You.
So if you want to use two first, that why it does means that we want something. Does it better to use two firsts at the same time like this?
Two fists. Did you say two? Well, if you have a look at this, if I have two fists up like this, what do I look like?
Look like you're
Yeah, exactly, Stella. I look like I want to throw hands. Poof, 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 poof.
rocket hand.
So it's definitely a bad idea to outwardly show aggression like that. Like
So
there are some cases where it's acceptable. So like if you ever see like football teams, or like American football or rugby players, or like really heavy contact sports, like when the coaches are giving their teams pep talks, they can use two fists like, come on, we've got to do this, we've got to win. So you can use two fists in a way like that, but generally speaking, two fists up here looks like you want to fight somebody. So I would probably avoid using aggressive gestures like that unless it's necessary.
So as we use hands for excitement, like I really like this. So
Exactly,
or you
yeah.
pair up with someone, can we use that? Or is it a bad idea or too much?
Well, if you think about it in the context of, so for yourself, it would be in the context of debating or in public speech in general. you would never really want to come off as overly aggressive or angry, because I don't think the judges would look too favorably on you going, and the next argument that I'm going to present, and here's my evidence. They're going to look at you like, this kid's crazy. So yeah.
Enemy.
So yeah, it's definitely better to keep those, to be very conscious of the emotion you're trying to portray while you're giving your speech, and try and use
So-
hand gestures, facial
So-
expressions.
Is just trying to keep our emotions as real as possible with our two friends, but accept frustration.
Yes, correct. I mean, if you're feeling frustrated, then that's probably the best emotion to try and mask. Try and make yourself look like you're feeling something
Yeah,
else, like
try-
calm,
Try to
collected.
make people scared.
Yeah,
Okay,
Similar.
maybe I'm
That's how you
talking
punch
too
your
much.
brother.
So now it's someone's turn. Sorry for making you guys wait.
No worries. Okay, Miss Luna, what's your question?
How fast should we use hand gestures?
Pardon?
How fast should we use hand gestures?
How fast?
Yes.
It depends. So you want to try and make your hand gestures match the part of the speech that you're up to. So just going back to the listing example, if I was talking quickly, I might try and list quickly. So I might try and go number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. But if I'm talking slowly, I don't want to go number 1, number 2, number 3, because it doesn't add up. So you want to try and match the gestures to the speech. So the speed could be quick or it could be slow, depending on how you're speaking.
But you shouldn't do this. Alice would like swimming.
Oh, that's not a hand gesture. That's just me. That's just me waving my hands around like a maniac.
Not unless you're demonstrating swimming.
Pardon?
Not unless you're demonstrating yourself swimming.
That's me demonstrating swimming. Okay, so there we go. Look at that. Who knows who that man there is?
Jackie Robinson.
No.
Who's that guy? Michael Corner.
No. Tom, you look frustrated. Do you know?
I think I read article about him once, but let me remember his name.
Give me a hint. Give me a clue.
He was the very best golfer in the world for a number of years. That's your clue. Who can guess?
Because
Give
there
me
were
a yes.
like million of that guy. There are million guy who like that.
Give me 4 names to guess. Give me 4 names.
The first name.
Hang on. Michael, do you know?
Tiger Woods.
Very good, my man. That's Tiger Woods. Or should I go? Very good, my man.
Ah,
His name is Tiger Woods. For a number of years, he was the very best golfer in the entire world. No one could touch him. But yeah, so again, here's a way. He's obviously just sunk a good shot and he's going, yes, using that clenched fist. So our next gesture, let's get back on topic. We got a little bit distracted there. I don't watch golf either, but he was just in the news a whole lot. So our next gesture is the everything gesture. So this can be a big or grand gesture. Okay. So who's got their microphone on? Okay, it's off now. So this can be a big gesture. So basically, it's as if you're sweeping across all of the ideas to be inclusive. Or it can also be used to say you're wiping the slate clean and you're starting again from scratch. Woof. So you can say, and I'm talking about everything. So it can be used to, yeah, so from over here to over here is everything. Or if you want to let somebody know that you're starting again from scratch, maybe maybe they've done something to upset you and you want to say it's okay, just forget all about it. We'll just start again, just sweep it away. So we've got a couple of uses for that one there, the everything gesture. We've got small, medium, and large. We talked about this earlier. If you're talking about how to size, so if you're talking about if you're talking about the size of something, or if you're talking about maybe somebody's status, so you can go small, medium, or large. Or the other way for sizing specifically is you go, I was kind of small, or I was pretty big. So you can use the hands that way as well, or you can do that. And we see there, so yeah, and we see there, we can also say things like, oh, it's pretty important. It's a pretty big deal, or it's not that important. It's not that important. You can use the small, medium, and large for that too. Or down here, the alternative, you can also use this as you talk about different stages. So if you're talking about, say, a school project or developing your team's argument for a debate, seeing as we have a lot of debaters here tonight too, we can say something like, well, in the beginning, we start with the idea or the motion that we're going to be supporting, and then we can develop our arguments, and then we can work out a strategy, and then before long, we'll have our whole case ready. So you can use that to indicate the next stage in a plan that you've got to do as well. Why am I making you upset, Stella? Why am I making you upset?
Don't let me out. I am saying that you don't. I am upset, a bit upset, not very upset, because I am very easy to not be upset because I can't ask you a question I wanted a long time.
Well, we'll go over this next gesture and then I'll take a few more questions from you guys. Okay, so our next gesture is let me tell you. So this is what it looks like. So we've got that one there, or a point like that. So we can use this one in quite a few ways. So if you're speaking to a big audience, you can use it to point someone out if you've asked a question. So you, sir, what's the answer to this question, please? Or you over there, excuse me. Sneeze. Another way that we can use it is, you know, I just remembered something important. So you can use it to say, I just remembered something important, or this one's important, or again, let me tell you something. But as we can see there, pointing should be used with caution because we don't like to be pointed at, because it can seem like someone's accusing us of something. So if someone's mad or upset or whatever, and they point at you, how many times have you felt like, what did I do? I didn't do anything. So it can be used as quite an accusatory gesture, like you're blaming someone for something. Or if you're just too close to them and you're like pointing at them in the chest or like right in the nose, it can be very invasive, and people don't like that when you come into their space. However, it can be used to get someone's attention or to make a point. Okay, I'm going to go down this line and ask some, get some questions now. Tom.
Yes, teacher.
Did you have a question?
Yes. Wait. Wait, what is it? I suddenly could remember it.
All right, well, you have a think about it and then put your hand back up when you remember. Tom, what's your question?
What? Oh, I forgot to lower my hand.
Marissa.
In my last lesson, I forgot to lower my hand. Oh yeah, by the way, my forgetting me my forgetfulness is really big. So that's why I have a high chance of forgetting something for no reason at all.
Ah, yeah, me too. Get in line. Marissa, do you have a question?
I want to ask you is why do hand gesture and body language are separate?
So when we talk about body language, we're mostly talking about posture. So I'll stand up for this one. So we tend to break it down or categorize it in a way that each part has its own different title, so we can be more specific. So body language tends to be overall everything, or mostly posture. So am I standing up nice and tall to deliver the speech, or am I hunched over like that? That's mostly body language. Then we get into facial expressions. Then we also get into hand gestures, and to a lesser degree, vocal modulation, even though that's not really part of the body per se, we still kind of include it as well. But yeah, it's just like a different category. Stella, Miss Grumpy Stella.
Honestly, I'm not grumpy. And secondly, my question is, if you are like sleepy and like you have a sleep before your speech, and when your speech comes and your like your body language is like hello, and you keep like doing very like you're almost gonna fall asleep, because that happens to me a lot of times because I always sleepy.
Oh no. Well, my advice to you there would be try your hardest to make sure that you get a very good night's sleep the night before a big speech that you've got to do, because the last thing you want to be doing is giving a speech, like trying to talk and you're falling asleep. You want to look you want to look like you are happy to be there, engaged. I had to wake up, Michael, wake up. Almost fell asleep there myself.
That's I really know that if I need a good night's sleep, but I can't never have a good night's sleep because I never have a good night's sleep. It's like because every time when I sleep and then in the middle of the night, my eyes want to wake up and go somewhere like that. So that's why almost everybody call me Miss Sleepy because I'm always sleepy.
I'm very much the same, but something that I've learned is that absolutely every single thing you do is a skill that you can improve. So if you're struggling with your sleep right now, maybe look into ways that you could get better sleep, and that could help.
Okay.
Kelvin, you're next in line.
Yes, I just have for you a question that should we in public speaking, should we point at someone and say continue saying?
Could you ask that again? Sorry, Kelvin.
Yes, in public speaking, should we pointing someone and continue saying?
If you there are a few times when pointing during a public speech is appropriate. So maybe if you want to point somebody out that's in the audience for a specific reason, you can point to someone and go, oh, like that person over there wearing the red hat, look at them, or something. Or if you're asking a question and you're selecting the member of the audience that you want to answer that question, then yes, you can point, but I wouldn't just randomly be giving a speech and then just like pointing at random people. I'd say no to that one. Victoria.
Okay, so is it hard to say when body languages and hand gestures with our vocal modulation, emotions, and a lot more. Is it hard to do it?
So overall, absolutely yes. It's a skill that you will need to put a lot of time and effort into getting right. But I would say probably hand gestures is one of the easier parts of it, because hand gestures, you really only need to learn about what to do with your hands, practice it to a speech, and then the more you practice, the better you get. But things like posture, like you may set it up right, but as you're talking and thinking about something else, your posture might come undone and you don't even realize it. If you need to pull a specific facial expression, there's a lot of little muscles in the face that go into making these facial expressions. So training those can be very difficult. But yeah, overall, it's definitely worth trying to get good at all of these skills. Tom.
Yes, teacher. Can I ask you a personal question?
You can ask. Let's see if I answer.
Okay, it's kind of embarrassing one. If you were talking to a whole crowd of people, more than 1,000, and just make all around you recording everything that you do, and suddenly you fart and everybody heard it, and what would you say? Really hard, right?
So first of all, I am very easy to embarrass. So the first thing that would happen is my face would go beetroot red. I would probably apologize about 50 times and then say, excuse me, I apologize. And then I would just try and move on with the speech. That's really all you can do, because if you stand there going, oh my God, oh no, I farted, oh my God, no, then it's just going to draw more attention to it. The less attention you pay to something embarrassing like that, the less attention your audience will pay and the quicker you can move on from it. So try not to draw any attention to it. And I say 50 times, just apologize once, move on with the speech. There might be a few giggles here and there, but to be honest, it's a natural thing. I know everybody in the audience does that as well. So it just so happened that I did it at a rather bad time. Oh, well. And that's really all you can think about in that respect.
And can you do not destroy my race hat? I want to keep my place comfy.
I didn't hear that last bit. Ben, but if you asked me to actually do one on camera now, no, definitely not. Ben, do
Does
you have a
making
question?
joke and hand gestures make my presentation better?
But did you ask about telling jokes with hand gestures?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, so if you can find a way to incorporate a joke into your public speeches, absolutely, they can make the speech better. And if you find a way to incorporate hand gestures into the telling of the joke, absolutely, you can make the joke better, which will make the speech better. Absolutely. Luna.
What if you fell asleep during a speech?
Pardon?
What if you fell asleep during a speech?
Well, I might just have to use that listen up gesture. Hey, listen up. Try and make a loud noise to wake people up. I once fell asleep in a church during during a sermon. The preacher was up on stage. There was probably about 150 other Christians in the room. And and it was a very uncomfortable chair. So the way I fell asleep was my head went back and I started to snore. So I'm sitting in the church like
So
asleep. And Next thing I know, one of my friends, my friend nudged me in the ribs and I went, "Ugh!" And I just saw 150 people looking at me and it was embarrassing. But again, I just apologized and then the preacher got on with it. So I mean, if somebody falls asleep, maybe they have a good reason for it, because like the people that actually fall asleep because they're so bored of the speech is very, very rare. They might just be really tired, at which case, just let them nap. But most of the time, I already answered that question, Ben. But yeah, so if somebody falls asleep, depending on the setting, you might wake them up and make a joke out of it, or you might just leave them be sleeping. Either way.
And what if someone fell asleep while making a speech?
Then they probably have it's not a disease, but they probably have a medical condition called narcolepsy, where they can just fall asleep like that in the middle of a sentence. So yeah, at which point you would probably want to make sure that you either woke them up or you laid them down safely so they didn't fall over and hurt themselves. That would probably be the best thing to do. Thank you, Luna.
Okay.
Little Miss Stella.
I just don't have any question. I'm just keeping company and I'm doing.
Whoop. Could you say that again? I think your internet froze. Okay, I will take one more question for now, then we do want to get back into it. Then I'll ask a few more, answer a few more questions.
Well, so this is the first time that you invite me in this class. And the question of mine is, what should we do if we just read the introduction of our speech and then we want to use the bathroom?
So if it's an absolute emergency, like you are going to go right there right now, then yeah, run off the stage and go to the bathroom. But if it's just like, oh, I kind of need to pee, or I kind of need to go to the bathroom, then hold it in. Hold it in until you cannot hold it in anymore. That's what you need to do with a speech, because if you've got a room full of people there that are there to hear you speak, their time is very valuable. Like they've given up other things to come and watch you speak. So unless it's an emergency, you need to do your job and deliver that speech.
But if our speech is too long, it takes about 1 hour.
There are very, very few speeches that would actually take 1 hour. But that all comes down to your preparation. So sometimes it can't be avoided. You just don't need to go before you deliver your speech. But as much as possible, do whatever it takes to be able to stay on the stage for the duration of your speech. Okay, let's have a look at a few more gestures, and then we will move on to the next part of the lesson. So this next one is called just apart. So if you use this gesture here, so remember that this was a little bit where your fingers are very close together, but this next one is called, so it's my first and second finger, like I'm trying to pinch. But this next one, just apart, is a little bit further apart. And what this one means is it can be used to demonstrate just one specific part of an idea. When you're talking about, when you're talking about a certain part of an idea, that gesture can be used to demonstrate that it's a separate part of the idea from everything else. Or alternatively, you can use that gesture while turning your hand to indicate that something has changed your mind. So, for example, I can say, and I'm just making this up for the record, I never ever for a second thought that the earth was flat. But just as an example, it's the first one that popped into my head. I used to think that the earth was flat, but then I discovered that the earth was round. Now I've changed my mind. So I can use that gesture there, that turning, to say I've changed my mind from this to that. The next one is, the next one is I am magnanimous. And magnanimous basically means I am all powerful. It's a very godlike gesture. And you want to use it when you're making a big gesture. So like, I think I've seen Oprah Winfrey use it a few times when she used to host her TV show. She used to give out crazy prizes to the entire audience. I'm going to get back for a little bit for this one. And she'd point to the audience and she'd go, and you get a car, and you get a car, and you get a car. Everybody gets a car. So you do a big gesture like that to show that what you're saying or what you're doing is very, very big and important. We're learning how to talk to deaf people. No, this is definitely not sign language. This is definitely not sign language. When we talk to deaf people, sign language actually communicates words and communicates sentences, and you speak to people with your hands. I can't use sign language. So whenever you move your hand, the next one is growth. So we had levels. So we had, like small, medium, or large. Now notice that when we move from level to level in the small, medium, or large gesture, I kind of have like a bit of a cross chop to go, here's level 1, and then I come back out and move up to level 2, come back out up to level 3. So it's kind of like I'm chopping down here, I'm chopping up here, and I'm chopping up here to indicate those 3 different levels, 1, 2, 3. But in the growth gesture, there's no sideways chop. We just raise the hand up like that. So, sometimes parents or family members talk about their kids as they grow up. They go, oh, they're growing up. They're getting so big now. And you can use that to indicate growth of a person, or just, for example, when you grow up, of course, if you run a business and you start making lots of money, you can go, yeah, like our profits are really starting to grow. And you can use that gesture to indicate that something is getting bigger. Tim, yes, you can have a pancake. Michael's apparently giving us all Porsche 911s. And Vika is grumpy for some reason. Maybe she needs a nap like Stella. Okay, so again, I'll give you guys an opportunity just to copy down this website here. And as a matter of fact, I will go one further. I will put it in the chat box. So if you're interested in learning about hand gestures in more detail, yeah, you can come to this website and have a look at them and learn all about them. So let's have a talk about clarity through imagery. So based on what we've talked about so far, based on what we've talked about so far, some of the gestures that you've seen, How can these gestures enhance our audience's understanding of what we're talking about? So I'll throw this question out to the chat box. But imagine that, Vika, when you do get old enough to drive a car, you'll have a nice Porsche sitting there waiting for you. But yeah, so throwing this question out to the chat box, how can using these hand gestures enhance our audience's understanding of what we're talking about? So if you think you know the answer to that question, type it in the chat box and send it to me. Then we can discuss some of the answers. Very good, Tina. It can clarify what you mean or what you feel, like eye contact, and to emphasize movements. Very good. So the question is, how can these hand gestures enhance our audience's understanding of what we're speaking about? Good, Sunny, but how can using these hand gestures correctly, how can that help our audience understand what we're talking about? Okay, so I'll give you guys the answer to this one. Oh, no, we've got a few more. So first of all, Lamb, no, these hand gestures wouldn't really help somebody who can't hear to understand, because for them we have sign language. So if we knew we were going to have an audience made up of a lot of people that couldn't hear, then we might just get a sign language interpreter on stage. So as we speak, and this isn't sign language, I don't think. So as we're speaking, they would start signing the words so that our deaf audience could understand what we're saying. But the hand gestures themselves, so I wonder that if we use it too much, if we use too much hand gestures, maybe we'll be the people that cannot talk. So no, again, it's not for, hand gestures are not for deaf people. Sign language is for deaf people. Yes, we must limit bad hand gestures. So we're not going to go over the bad hand gestures, but I'm sure secretly that you guys know a couple of them. Don't use those in a public speech. Correct, Tom. Yes. So the hand gestures can enhance our audience's understanding in two ways. One, it can provide additional visual information. So if we're talking about the growth, so let's just say that we're all at a work meeting and someone's talking about the growth of the company, or if we have a plan that we need to fulfill and we need to go step one, next we'll do this, after we do that, then eventually we've done it all. Or if we're listing things off, it can help people see what we're talking about as well as hear it. And that just adds another layer of information for them. And as well, it can convey emotion and it can convey feelings. So the gesture and speech harmony. So we want to try and use hand gestures that complement what we're saying. So if I'm talking about, so now just using a few of the examples we've already seen. So if I'm talking about a big gesture, so everyone in the company is going to get a big bonus this year at Christmas because we've made record profits. I might go, everyone's getting a bonus. We're all getting a big bonus. But so that gesture would complement what I'm saying, but I wouldn't go, everyone's going to get a big bonus this year, because that's not saying something big is happening. That's going something small. So see how that gesture for small doesn't complement the big speech that I'm making about everybody getting bonuses. Herp derp, no, you cannot, Victoria. So it's very important to make sure that our hand gestures and the message that they are sending out, it's very important to make sure that they match up with what we're saying in our speech. So I'll take a few more questions now instead of identifying complementary gestures, because we can include the complementary gestures into this week's homework task. So I'll take a few questions and then we'll move on.
Yes, I have a question for you. When you open your document, I see a very disturbing picture. A hamburger. What the heck was that about?
So that was an inside joke from a previous lesson. Somehow one of the students in the class sent me lots of pictures of turtle burgers. And so I just saved them all because I just liked them. So that's the story behind that. Not really anything too exciting.
I don't really think that's funny because I have 2 pet turtles and I don't think I would fit them well into a burger.
Well, that's good. I do think it's funny, but I also would not actually turn a turtle into a burger. Don't worry. Okay, thank you, Tom. Emily. Hello, Emily. Whoop, where did you go?
What? Not happen. Because no happen. So
So, Emily, what's your question?
I don't have any question.
No worries. Thank you. Okay, Alice. Hello, Alice.
How can we use varieties of hand gesture? Because I notice while I'm giving a speech or I'm talking, I just can use one kind of hand gestures. I can't not use many. So how can I improve that?
So like we were talking about before, with Stella talking about how she doesn't get a good night's sleep. Absolutely everything that we do in this world is a skill that can be improved. So if you would like to learn more about hand gestures, excuse me, and what they mean and how to incorporate them into your speech, a good starting point would be that website that I posted in the chat box, Turtle Burger, and I'll post it again. So so start there, go to that website, start reading about hand gestures and what they mean. And then it's not enough just to know what they mean. You have to practice them and not just stand there and go, okay, so I've got it's not enough just to do that, but you have to practice putting them into speeches or practice the kind of thing you would say to use that hand gesture with. So yeah, it's all really just practice it as though you were doing it properly. So yeah, so maybe even if you just like look for, so if you maybe look for examples of speeches on the internet, and then as well see how they're using their hand gestures, and then maybe try and find written speeches, go through it and go, okay, so when they say this, I might want to try and use a gesture that says this, and then try and match the gestures up, practice giving the speech, and that. Are you okay there, Victoria? Your face is going mental. But yeah, so Alice, make sure that you, make sure that when you're reading the speech and practicing the gestures, you're doing it as though you were giving the speech. Because if you only practice things like this at half effort, that's how your body will learn it. So you might then one day give a speech and go, yeah, so it's like this and like this and like this, rather than going, so I start here, I go here, and then I go here. That's my advice.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Tom, 11, Ho Chi Minh City. Do you have a question?
I don't know.
Okay. And yes, guys, I would very much agree with your, your observation there. And we're going to let the crazy kids speak. Victoria, what's your question?
Okay, so feeling that you're walking in a park beside the river, the river in the park, and then you saw a turtle.
Oh,
it's
no. And just as you say that, Alice changes her background to me looking like I don't know what I'm talking about. Why would you do that to me, Alice? Oh,
And you-
goodness sake. If I saw a turtle in the park, I would admire it from afar, but I would not try and pick it up because wild turtles can snap and take your finger off. And I don't want to walk around with only 4 fingers on my hand. So I'd leave the
And you-
wild turtles alone.
You notice that that turtle is not a turtle. It's actually a food. Yeah.
A turtle burger. I would be very sad if someone actually turned a turtle into a burger. Do you have a serious question, Victoria?
Okay, so does it gonna I forgot it.
Well,
I
think
forgot
about
it.
it. I'll come back to you. Thank you. Okay, Bin Phuoc Dian, what's your question? Do you have a question, Bin Phuoc Dian? Okay. Luna, what's your question?
Can I talk?
Yes.
My question is,
Are you making splatters of white paint? Why didn't you destroy all my masterpieces?
Wow, that was crazy. You spoke, but your mouth didn't move. Are you a magician? No, seriously though. Do you have a question, Luna?
So exactly, how should you use hand gestures? How should you use hand gestures?
So a succinct definition of how to use hand gestures, I would say always use them to complement your speech. So make sure that they are matching what you're saying in both emotion and in speed. So again, don't go listing off verbally very quickly and go up very slowly and going 1, 2, 3, like that. So make sure it matches up and only use it to emphasize the point you're trying to make. Never let it distract from what you're saying. That's how I would use hand gestures.
So what do you think is the most important form of hand gestures?
Ooh. Well, that really depends on what you're talking about. But I would say probably one to use most sparingly, I would say, would be anything to do with anger. So try and avoid using angry gestures like the fist, unless you're going like, yes, we did it. Unless it's to use to express excitement, I would avoid using gestures like that.
So, like, if we're talking about dinosaurs, like we're listening types of dinosaurs, we go like Stegosaurus, like that.
Yeah, so if you were talking about dinosaurs, I imagine the most common types of hand gestures you would use would be ones to say the dinosaur was really big, or this dinosaur was really teeny tiny.
Rock.
Pardon?
More like a dinosaur pebble.
A dinosaur pebble? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, really, like it entirely depends on your subject matter as to which types of hand gestures you would use.
Okay.
Thank you, Luna.
Hand puppets.
Ruby, hello.
Can I ask you a question? What do you mean when you say something is big and you show your hand gesture is a tiny bit?
Could you say that again? Sorry, Ruby.
Can you if you say something is very, very big, but you show your hand gesture is tiny a bit, what do you mean?
Well, if you were, I imagine if you saw that on my video, that was probably just lag. But if someone were to talk about something very big while using a hand gesture that said very small, it could be an attempt at making a joke, or it could be sarcasm. Yeah. I imagine there would be a non-serious meaning behind it if they were to like use the opposite hand gesture. Either that or the person just wasn't very good at using hand gestures, one of the two. Okay, Lily from Hanoi. Hello, Lily, what's your question?
So are there a lot of hand gestures, and when did you use them?
So to answer that question, I'm going to have to be pretty general, won't be able to be too specific. But again, it all comes down to your subject matter. So if you were talking about something with the intent to make your audience happy, then you would use lots of happy hand gestures. So, you know, like big hand gestures out here to go, yes, or like maybe the fist pumping upwards going, yes, it's good news. Or if you were talking about something serious that required everybody's attention, you might use the pay attention gesture or the pointing gesture, like this is important, pay attention. So yeah, it really all comes down to what you're talking about as to the type of hand gestures that you would use?
So there was another funny thing. Imagine if you were by the river and you saw a fish jumping up and you see it's not kind of like a real fish, it's kind of like a different fish. And
Oh,
it's
goodness.
made out of flowers.
Fish made out of flowers. That would be quite pretty.
It actually, when it was born, it grows out of flower in the body.
Oh no. Well, thank you very much for that, Lily, and thank you for your question. Okay, so John, I see you there. I will let you ask your question before the end of the lesson, I promise. So keep your hand up, stay in line. So we're not going to have time for the practical exercise this evening, but again, this is something that we can work into your homework, is incorporating hand gestures naturally. So this all comes down to the amount of practice that you put in. So if you just do it once or twice, and then go, yep, I'm going to do my homework now, then it's probably going to come across as very, and then he counting 1, 2, 3, 4. So you need to practice these things to make sure that they look natural. And that's the hardest part about them, is to do something difficult but make it look easy. And that's what using your hand gestures will become for you. It'll be hard, but eventually you'll make it look easy. Alice, you're laughing. It makes me nervous. Okay, so we've had a bit of a discussion about these hand gestures already, so we can skip this peer feedback bit. And we'll also skip through the share experiences bit. We got a bit wrapped up with question time and demonstrating a few hand gestures. So we have 3 types of hand gestures. Let's go back and have a look at those. Oh, there it is. So we've got our illustrative gestures. So they're hand gestures that we use to represent objects and actions. So remember, you can hold the baby or you can run over here. We can use descriptive gestures, and they are gestures that describe shapes, sizes, and quantities. So you wouldn't believe it. I went into the video game shop and they had 3 copies of the same game, or like it was this big, or like it was round, or it was a square or rectangle. However you need to describe things, you can use your hands to do so. And finally, emphatic gestures. So explain the gestures that are used for emphasis or to convey strong emotions in your speech. We want to make sure again that the hand gestures complement our speech, and so they go with it, and that they don't distract from your main message. That's important. Okay, so yeah, so we also talked about the complementary gestures and making it look natural. So the biggest thing I would say is to practice your hand gestures, because it's going to take you, again, more than once or twice. Like some people spend years and years working to perfect their speaking technique, so their hand gestures look natural, so that they're yeah, and so this goes down to their facial expressions, their vocal modulation, their posture, everything. They practice this stuff for years to make it right. So keep practicing, guys, and don't give up on it. Small improvements are what we're looking for here. And as well, the biggest, so going back to right at the beginning of the lesson, where we had someone ask, like, why do we need hand gestures? It's another technique to add another level of engagement with our audience. So if they can hear what we're saying and then see it explained with our hands as well, that can help the audience to engage with what you're saying, to understand it. Alice, I'm not looking at the sky for a bird. But yeah, so basically hand gestures is just another skill that you can use to engage with your audience and connect with them. Okay, your homework assignment for this week. As usual, I'm going to post it into the Zalo group. So as soon as class is done, I'll add it to the Zalo group. And basically, you're just going to come up with a 2 or 3 minute speech, and you're going to try to incorporate hand gestures into it this week. That's what we're focusing on. But do try to include your facial expressions. Do try to include your vocal modulation. Try to include your good posture, sit up nice and straight or stand up nice and straight. And from this point out, we really want to start trying to put the whole package together, because next week we move away from the body language portion of the course and we start to move into how to write good speeches. So from here on out, just practice everything we've been learning. Hopefully you've been doing a lot of self-study as well. Oh, goodness. Don't worry. In another lesson that I did, I had students making beautiful works of art out of pictures of me. They like turned me into a DJ and all sorts. It was amazing. Like I've got all of those pictures saved. They were just beautiful. So yeah, again, like I say, with this speech, start incorporating all of your body language and vocal modulation techniques. Do put in the effort to study and learn as much as you can about this stuff. I'd love to teach you more, but unfortunately, I just don't have the time. And as you can see, we've already gone half an hour over time. So let's wrap this up. So next lesson, we're going to be doing how to write a good speech. So we're going to be looking at crafting compelling content by exploring the art of speech writing and persuasive language. So some of you that have done my persuasive writing course before, you should have an idea of what to expect. Some of you that have done my debating course in the past, you will have some idea of that as well, with like structuring your speeches, writing your teal paragraphs, explaining using evidence. So yeah, a lot of this stuff should be familiar to some of my past students. So thank you all very much for your attention this evening. I'll post your homework in the Zalo group, but John, I do believe I promised you a question. What's your question, good sir? John. John.
Yes, my internet
Hello.
is going crazily laggy.
That's no good. What's your question?
My question is, when do you use hand gestures? How do you use it, and why do you use it?
So when I would use it, so it depends on the content of my speech. So I always want to make sure that I use hand gestures that again complement what I'm talking about. And I would use them for, number one, to emphasize a point. Like if something's really important, I really want to, it'd be good to use a hand gesture to show the audience how important my point is. Like I can't see my camera, so I don't know if my hand was on the screen. There I am. So yeah, for example, there, when I said I want to show the audience how important my point is to add emphasis. So when I said show, I'd used a hand gesture there to show you how important something is. So I can add emphasis. It can also help with overall body language to display emotions. And the reason why I do it is to add another layer of communication to my speeches. So if my camera was off and it was just me speaking to you all, and all you could hear was my voice, I imagine Stella and Luna would probably both be asleep in their chairs right now, giving it that. But because you can see me and we can laugh and we can joke and we can be a bit more interactive, it makes the classes more fun. It makes you want to participate more. Oh goodness, I'm scared to look at Sunny's screen. And Luna, don't hate me. I saw you just about falling asleep before. So yeah, that's why and when I would use hand gestures. So yeah, whenever I want to emphasize a point, and I do it to add another layer of communication with the audience. You were so. You're sitting there like this, you're just about. Okay, so that is the end of class for this evening. Oh my gosh, Sunny, that is going in my art gallery right now. Hang on, an ode to continued perfection. So yeah, you can see all of the beautiful artwork of me that students have been making. Masterpiece in 3D. Oh goodness. So just so you know, guys, right now I am going to go back through. Oh, Luna's given me a beautiful mustache. So I have to. So I am going to go back through the chat logs now of this call, and of this Zoom meeting, and I'm going to save each and every picture that you guys have sent me tonight, because that's the reason why I've been laughing so much. So good job with your meme games, guys. What, Stella? What is in your background? Jen Mick, and I look confused, and I've got a big mustache coming out of my nose. Is that debate background? Is that how you guys have been seeing me for the lesson tonight? Because I look at my camera here and there's no background. All right, so I've just had a request to show my art gallery. So hopefully, so this is the art gallery. So I had a wonderful student turn my beautiful picture into a tree full of monkeys. I had someone turn me into a party dude. As you can see, I've got a serious look on my face, but I'm partying. Look like I'm having fun. We just have someone that just made me just beautiful. This one is from Luna, masterpiece number 7. This one is from Luna, Rich Mr. Archer. We can see with my big rich guy mustache there and all the money. We see Ruby drew me with beautiful, luscious lips and a pair of glasses. Sunny gave me eyeliner and lipstick and blush. Sunny also made me watching a 3D movie. I've got my Coca-Cola and my popcorn. And Vika turned me into a scuba diver. So I'm under the water and you can see me breathing the oxygen underwater through my diver's mask. So those are all of my wonderful masterpieces. And those are masterpieces that I'm going to treasure. So, all right, guys, so class is done. I'm going to post your homework now in the Zalo group. And then I'm going to go back through the chats and I'm going to save all of the beautiful artwork that you've made. So thank you guys very much for your attention this evening. I've had fun talking about hand gestures with you. Good luck with the homework, and remember, please incorporate everything. So we've got our body language. So overall, like our posture, our facial expressions, hand gestures, and our vocal modulation. So there are 4 things altogether that we can start putting into our homework now. I look forward to seeing it all. So have a great week, everyone. I'll see you next Sunday. Goodness gracious, you make me scared. You make me... Oh, no. I'm on the bed. Oh, my gosh. Thank you, Tim, for turning me into a devil. Okay, guys. I'll see you all next week. Good night.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
I make you want to be friends.
I want to talk to you, please. Wait, he's out? So, teacher.
Victoria. Sorry, Victoria.
We have a surprise for you. Okay, so just wait
Do
for
you want to drink trash juice?
Bye.
Your turn after And no. Download my pictures. Curse you, silly Sunny. He updated the picture. You are unmute.
So I'm going to have lots of fancy new pictures to add to my gallery this week. Anyway, give me 2 seconds, guys. I've just got to post the homework in the Zalo group.
Which is your favorite picture? Oh, he has blue eyes. Yes, because his face is always up so close. Yep, he has blue eyes. His smile is a bit funny.
I can't wait to see what you do with that photo.
Without glasses, me with glasses. I don't have poor eyesight. This is just download my picture already. He already downloaded. Which is your favorite? Actually, you have broken legs. What broken lenses? Holy cow!
ๆ
What is your favorite picture?
I want to talk to you, please. me with 2 classes at once. I have eye lenses. What? I have eye lenses. I have glasses too, but I only wear it when I go to school, not at home. Who's saying that? Okay, goodbye. Hey, don't go.
Good night.
What is your sister doing, Luna? She just made a very good masterpiece in snow. You're hiking in snow. I think it's time for Michael. The trash juice.
Oh, good night.
Good night. Good night. Like this. Lots of leaves.
All right, so the homework is now posted, guys. You can find your. You can find the
Let me
homework
put
in the
lots
group.
of leaves in teacher Michael.
Pardon?
Show your lots of leaves in you.
Oh my
Goodbye,
goodness.
teachers Michael.
Goodbye. I'm gonna need to go back through all of these pictures and make
No.
sure you save them all.
No, you shouldn't make them silly, teacher. No, they have to be white, not blue. No, okay. Not blue.
Oh my goodness. Let's see the picture that Nguyen Phuc Ngan Tram sent me. when it loads.
But also pink.
Oh.
You said that it was actually like lots of leaves or lots of mud. I
Oh,
mean mud.
I can't open that picture because apparently my computer doesn't support that type of file. Oh. Okay, so now I'm going to go back through.
Lots of stick. Not flymen.
My
I
Lord.
mean the flymans are in the nose. I hate that.
Oh my gosh, this is awesome.
Colin.
Made me look like the bad guy from Sonic.
Oh, what? What do you mean by pardon or the parasites?
Have you guys ever heard of Sonic the Hedgehog?
I now forget it because I only know it from a long time ago. And I forgot it. It means that my brain has flew away into the clouds and down to the tree and into the bird's nest.
Oh, this is too much fun. Okay. Yeah, continuing to go through and check out all of these masterpieces that the kids have been creating. I mean, granted, you all have amazing you all have amazing subject material to work with, but you guys are still really talented.
Teacher, do you know Peppa Pig? I know it because I watched it from a long time ago. Now I still watch it.
Peppa Pig. Yeah, Peppa Pig was around when I was a kid.
And George, when I watched the episode about perfume, George hates the smell of flowers.
I don't remember that one.
He also says why, like my brother. He is always like that.
Ah, have you guys ever seen Pingu?
What? Pardon?
Have
Penguin?
you hang on.
Yes.
Pingu.
Pingu?
Pingu.
No. No, I don't know.
It's this
It's
awesome.
just a
It's this awesome animated show about this family of penguins, but they don't speak English. They communicate like. It's hilarious.
There was also Polly Parrot in Peppa Pig, but it was so funny. It copies everyone, but the voice is funny.
Oh. But yeah, no, like you guys should definitely check out Pingu. It's good fun.
Polly says this one is a bit funny. Polly says, Grandpa Pig says, you silly old parrot.
Hình này ở đâu?
But that didn't sound like that, but it says,
Oh. Oh. I found another beautiful picture of me to download.
and George only likes dinosaurs. He hates, and he also hates rain hats. And he gets a cold after that.
He gets a cold because he doesn't like rain hats.
Yes, and rain flew on his head. When he started to go in, he got a cold. When he started to go out, Mommy Pig says that he has to wear his rain hat, and he says, "Why?" And then Mommy Pig answers, and he said, "Why?" And then Mommy Pig answers again, and then "Why?" And Mommy stops answering, and he still kept "Why?"
Oh no. Okay, I think that is everything. All right. So I'm gonna take off here, guys.
I just eat some grapes and then I burped.
Good on you. All right, I'm gonna go now, guys. I will see you all next week. Have a good night. Remember, check out